Originally, I was going to go through all of the Ishmael kata, but frankly, I decided it was too complex an issue to do at one time. So we're just going to look at the kata Seisan. We're going to start it today. It may go one or two other classes till I cover the content. Essentially, Bunkai is one of those very elusive concepts. What we're seeing is what I am doing with Bunkai. Some people do nothing with the way of interpreting the kata. Some people do very basic interpretations. There are systems such as Sensei Sutrisno that have entirely complex systems of Bunkai, of multiple interpretations of every move. There are Chinese systems that only have one standard interpretation of move. But the further I train, what I have been doing is learning how to look at the kata. The first thing that comes to my mind is that why should I do something or have my students do something if they can't make it work? If there is a move that doesn't make any sense to me, then why are we doing the move? That was a lot of the driving reason why I started taking a look at some of this. In terms of the Bunkai, we're going to see several different principles. The first principle is we're going to see the move applied against an attacker as close to the way it is done in the kata as possible. And I think that is something that's very important. If you have a technique, you should be able to see how it fits in itself. The second thing is to look at the kata a little more unconventionally and look at the strings of techniques in a different sequence where, beginning of Seisan, it's side block, reverse punch. The Bunkai certainly can be side block, reverse punch, but it would be side block, reverse punch, step. And by just changing the number of techniques, you end up with a different view of how to apply the techniques. Then there is a different level of using every technique as an entry point to do something else. Theoretically, then, any technique can be turned into any other technique in the martial arts. And we're going to look at that a great deal. Then we're also going to take some look at the fact that if you take the technique and modify some of the movement, you end up with an entirely different technique. To give you some idea, some of the notes that I'm going to be using in this production, just to look at kata Seisan, which we've all been doing a long time. That is the list of notes that I'm starting from, and it does not encompass everything that we're doing for this presentation. I hope you'll find this interesting, and we'll start at this point. Thank you. Now, to begin with, let's take a standard attack, a straight lunge punch, might be stuff with a lunge punch, to the person who is standing ready to open Seisan kata. The lunge punch comes out. We need to have some terminology in common. Normally, the very first technique that people think of is a side block or a side strike into the attacking arm. I am going to use that as an inside attack. You're going inside the person on the center line of the body. There's another way to apply the same technique. The same punch comes out as an exterior defense. One of the important principles I find in the martial arts is that you should be able to use the same technique interior or exterior, and that one of the things I think happens is that it looks real convenient to begin a Seisan kata, you should be going to the inside. Going to the inside makes sense, but many times against an attack going to the outside. If Mike's attack's coming and I step to the outside with the side block, it's much harder for him to counter-respond from my defense against his block, and much easier for me to launch a counterattack against him. We start taking a look at this. The very first, looking at that technique, we have a strike or a block against the arm itself. However, the same technique on the inside can be a strike to the shoulder to take out the attacking arm, or a different interpretation of the technique can be using the technique to finish the fight itself. Doing that, I would actually make a strike into the face of the opponent. And so that a side block becomes much more than a side block to end the technique. Now, if we're going to the outside, The same thing, the side block into the arm, but we follow through. The side block into straight to the head, you have the one technique finishing concept. In the Seisan system of the martial arts, the more advanced levels of understanding the block, the Japanese term of uki, is that there are no blocks in karate. And that every uki is actually uchi, a strike. And that, as he expresses the system, blocking is not deflecting. In all cases, blocks are entry points to strike the opponent. Now let's take a look at what we normally consider the first sequence of Seisan Ka. Side block, reverse punch. We're throwing the side block, just stay out here. We're throwing the side block into the arm to deflect it, followed by the reverse punch. If we go to the outside, side block, reverse punch into the ribs or into the head. The first variation from the side block is that you can hold and lock the arm as you're executing the reverse punch. Grabbing and rotating the arm forward loosens the ribs cage and the muscles in there, allowing more penetrating strike. If you're doing it from the outside, side block, reverse punch, you're initiating the start of a locking technique for the opponent. Continuing with these techniques, we're going to first work on my inside concepts of bunkai. So here we are. The attack moves forward, side block, reverse punch. This time instead of side block, I'm going to counter with a knuckle strike off the left arm into the rib cage, followed by another knuckle strike. So as the technique comes out, all punches in Okinawan Karate-Do are capable of being turned from the straight fist to the single knuckle punch, whether it's the lead knuckle, the middle knuckle. And when I'm using that concept, this initial block creates an opening. I follow with a straight technique into the ribs, followed by another technique into the ribs. Then we start getting into the possibility of multiple striking techniques. Side block, punch, and strike. We're throwing the side block, reverse punch. The punch creates an opening, followed by a vertical knife hand into the opening to create more damage to the opponent. Another multiple technique from the Seisan system, followed by the punch. Now I'm not grabbing as much as keeping the hand here, keep that hand out of the way. Follow the punch, back fist, strike, strike, locking technique. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every technique rolling into another technique. Block, punch, and sweep. We're now looking at extending the techniques from the interior. What moves follow? And this is where we start getting into the full range. As we had seen before, in the black belt, it's a block, punch, front kick, sweep. We were using that earlier as one of the black belt drills. We were going block, punch, kick on the inside of the knee, followed by a sweep cutting in the other direction. Now, block, punch. At that point, we can roll into the arm bar, where we can step into the person and then take the person down. Block, punch, roll in the arm bar, and just step away and take the person down. Block, punch, come across, with an Aikido lock. Let's do that in the other direction too. Block, punch, using the punch, opening it up, coming across, locking the person. You notice I allow the arm to roll up, and I've got the wrist, stepping through, and dropping with the lock. Block, punch, coming down, rolling into another lock, block punch, right hand comes down. As you roll across, wrist is back, taking the person down. Block punch, as you roll around, the Kotegosho Kido, taking the person down the outside. Switch angles in that. Block punch, we're coming, rolling out, and stepping through. Third line of defense. Block punch, bring the technique down, and take the technique back under the person. Again, we're starting to get into the fact that everything becomes possible. Block punch, come down, bring the person around, come underneath. Virtually, this opening is so universal. There's almost no technique that can't be executed once you have created that opening on the person. From Eagle Claw. Block punch, pull back, a cutting block striking on the pressure point of the arm. George Dillman, eat your heart out. Like this way. One of the favorite Aikido techniques, block punch, the Shiho Nage, forward direction throw. When you have the arm, take it down, grab with both hands as if you had a sword between your hands. You want the pressure the same way. You're locking the wrist, you turn your back, you step forward, or drop to your knees and throw the person as you choose. Another technique, block, hit, strike, roll the person down. Again, very simple. Block, hit, strike, roll the person down, and punch. From our Weijiru brethren, hello Tommy, turn the videotape around, organization. You may have seen him years ago doing Weiji Sanshin for us. Let's just take a look at the Weiji Sanshin opening as it applies to the same technique. Now, Weiji Sanshin, you would block, come back in, and strike, or strike. Open hand techniques. The openings that present themselves from there, as you're coming into the block, actually outer forearm strikes. Striking into the throat with the knife hand, into the throat with the knife hand, all become part of. And of course, our Sanshin, the same possibilities present themselves, likewise using the knuckle strikes as we had talked about earlier. And while I probably could go on forever, let me just steal this one from Aikido. The punch comes in, block punch, that virtually what's happening is from here, in fact we'll do it like this. Instead of the reverse punch, we're going to step with the knife hand and turn at the same time. Let's do it medium speed and just go with the flow, okay? And as you hook the throat, you want to take the person down at the same time. Now we've been looking at the interior explanations for what are considered the first move. Let me take a look at some of the exterior possibilities that are available for the move. Coming forward, again, I reverse the technique, but it's still the same technique. If Mike had been doing, in fact, use your left punch. Same kata, block, punch, followed by a sweep to the front, taking the leg out. Yep. In addition, step forward with the left punch. In addition to the side block reverse punch sweep, there are all sorts of combinations that become available at that point. Really, if you really wanted to finish a person, you would use a cross kick and take out their leg. So that you would be coming block punch, and normally against the ribs, I prefer knuckle strikes. I would normally come in with a cross kick, taking the person's leg out, hopefully finishing the argument with most people under Arnold Schwarzenegger. Let's go back to the right punch. Coming from the outside, many of the techniques we looked at before, from the punch to loosen the person up, that from the inside are the same thing. From the outside, you just go into the arm bar, you step away, take the person down as is required. Likewise, from the block punch, taking the person down, rotating the arm up, the on-cue lock of Aikido. Again, block punch, taking the person down, rolling the wrist clockwise, and lifting the elbow as you step in, puts the person. At that point, you take the person down, you still have them locked. And finally, Okinawan arm breaking. Block punch, roll back, drop into horse stance. So that, I wonder which of you gentlemen taught me this the first time. Block in. We'll be looking at that technique closer at a later point in Seisan Kata. Now, let me cross-reference some of the additional concepts that I see in Kata Seisan. In the Sutrisno system, their first level of Bunkai, which is the addition of additional techniques, adds another layer to our defense. From that, the Sutrisno system, from the block of Hangetsu, they would throw a wrist strike, followed by a punch and a rolling back fist. So that the technique flow would be 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, the lower body, because your hip placement from that strike is perfectly ready to come in with a kicking technique. Now let's roll back and take a look at our opening move from a different angle. What we've been looking like are the conventional variations of self-defense technique. And actually, there are another more unconventional set of variations, like mommy's down running a skate swap, and ski swap against the front kick. I want to demonstrate how the side block throws. Side block reverse punch. What I want you to do is step in, scooping side block, reverse punch to the groin as you take Tommy down. Again, what you're seeing is nothing more than an exact technique. Again, it's coming in, side block, where you're scooping under the leg. Now, do it with a little more oomph in the boot for a throw. Just throw it with the side block itself. Okay. Now, against washigiri, round kick. Anywhere, side block, reverse punch to groin. Okay. Mike, why don't you demonstrate round kick? Tommy, side block, reverse punch to the groin. No, wait, Hiro. Wait. Just Kata Seisan. Just ready stance, side block, reverse punch to the groin. Okay. Good. That sets us up, thank you, gentlemen, we're going to continue this. It sets us up for the next concept of Bunkai. Now, Mike, if you do the beginning of Seisan Kata from ready stance, okay, step forward, side block, reverse punch. Step forward, reverse punch. Step forward, reverse punch. One of the things that's important is that in Bunkai, you don't figure side block reverse punch is the technique you should be working for. Perhaps the technique is side block reverse punch step. Or side block reverse punch step reverse punch. Let's take the round kick. Tommy, your slow motion round kick. which is your fast motion round kick. Side block, reverse punch into the groin. Crescent step, sweep the leg out. That's right. So you got to make sure that first crescent kick, you're getting in close to the person. You want to get blocking behind the knee, not in front of the knee, where there's less power. Side block, reverse punch, step in. Oops. It works. Now, once again. I love these old Weiji Ryu people. They love taking falls. Especially in concrete. In that station, don't you? Okay, next. Taking a look at the motion, let's go back to the upper body. Side block, reverse punch, solar plexus. Move back, move back. Side block, reverse punch to solar plexus. Sweep. I mean, you step first, so you step through behind, and as the person's falling, punch with the other hand, just like a kata. Step and punch. Side block, reverse punch. No, you didn't fall the kata. You stepped first. Side block, reverse punch. Just step in. Okay. Side block, reverse punch. Step in with the sweep, and cross reverse punch in the sweep.
Front leg.
Front leg, of course. Now put a little more behind it. Now, if we take a look, my fall through my cut. Many of the Shoryu systems and Hangetsu from Shotokan, which is their version of Seisan, execute the technique a little bit different. They go side block, reverse punch, just fall through. Side block, reverse punch. Then they do lead hand side block. Just do a side block. Then they step forward with the side block with that hand. Same hand side block. Punch, side block. Come back again. Now let's take a look at that. First thing is, against just a straight punch, you go side block, reverse punch, pick it back just at the face. Bang, bang, bang. One technique flows to the other. Step forward, you throw a you step back and throw a punch with the other hand, Tommy. You step forward and side block, reverse punch, back fist, rolling back fist into the face. Likewise, the arm breaking, side block, reverse punch, grabbing the arm, stepping away. The side block break we had done before follows the exact same pattern. Of course, another explanation, he throws the punch, step in, side block, reverse punch, step forward, reverse punch, step forward, reverse punch. That you virtually can use the opening to drive into the punches the way we would taught the kata. Then you can vary the punches. From a straight reverse punch, the second one can be a knuckle strike to the ribs, the third one can be a knuckle strike to the upper or lower mouth. Now, let's see here. My notes show anything else? Well, of course, we have gotten away from the hip throw capabilities at that point. The hip throw capabilities really are variation, stepping with the punch, block, reverse punch, step through with the sweep and turn it to a hip throw, like a keto number 5. Right. Do it from the other direction too, Mike. Do atomic chain places, move back this way a little bit so Dennis gets it all. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Well, I know you have to punch. And then crescent kick. Leg and tackle methods are very advanced. Sure. Okay, well, let's see. Let me try. Let me try. Tommy's coming in. Crescent kick, punch, crescent kick. Okay, so you're not just standing motion, you're turning extra steps, but it's still kick, punch, kick, right? So you're coming in, crescent step, punch into the spine, crescent step, taking the person out. Give it a try. If you guys don't get it, put Karen down now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Guys, we haven't had a chance. I know you see him at the fringes. Another one of our show dogs, Chief Engineer of Texaco, Dennis Driscoll. When he's not at sea duty, he's here having fun with us. We're going to look at another concept before we leave this first section of the kata Seisan. And that is the fact that starting and stopping at unconventional points allows us an entirely different use of form. For example, in the kata, we have side block punch, step, punch, step, punch. What if we start out step, punch, step, with a little adjustment? The punch is coming in, step, punch, and step. But what I'm doing is I'm starting out with the step, locking the leg forward, and I'm going to twist the person away, come into the punch. Then I take a half step away, change directions, and execute the following step, locking the person's legs, taking them down. In execution, I'm coming like this, punch, and locking like this. Again, a variation of the technique of the form, still within the intent of looking at unconventional stopping and starting points in the execution of kata and understanding how to fit them in and apply them. It's interesting, in one of the texts on Okinawan karate by Pat McCarthy from Canada, who's currently living in Japan, he talks about kata Seisan. His definition was number 13 at Matsumara. Bushi Matsumara had brought this from China, according to his notes. And then a large part of the form was taking out the balance of the other attacker. If you start taking a look at the crescent step as fitting in and destroying the lower body of the opponent, it's a different realm than just blocking and punching the execution of techniques. Now we move to the end of that first row. And in the form, we normally